Okay, so we've commenced recording. So welcome everyone. My name's Osman Batty. I'm a GP at St Andrews in Tower Hamlets and also the IT lead for NEL STP. So we're going to present today and talk through the AccuRx toolbar. I'm going to do this as an interactive session. So I want all of you guys to contribute as well. So if you've got any comments, queries or questions, just use the chat function to do that. And if you want to say something, certainly just raise your hand and you'll have the opportunity to do so. So what I'll do to start with is to just go over a bit of an overview of what the toolbar is. You've all probably seen it. It's all probably being used quite heavily by your clinicians, and you should all have functionality to use it as well, really. So if you haven't seen the toolbar, it's probably worth just putting it in the chat if you've never seen it. And if you otherwise, I'm assuming that you've all seen the toolbar and know how to install it. If you're not sure how to install it, it's quite easy to do. You can certainly ask somebody in your practice manager should be able to enable you quite easily. So what I'm going to start off by doing is just share my screen. So I'm just going to enable this here. Okay, so now what should now appear is a dummy patient at the practice, and the AccuRx toolbar is visible here in the top right of your screen. So this is the toolbar that you'll see. Your initials will be on the right hand side, which gives you access to the menu itself, and I'll come on to talk about what other things you can do in there in a while. But essentially what this does, it allows you to send text messages and start video consultations with patients, as well as doing other things now. So we've also got the functionality for email to be sent and also received from other healthcare professionals. So not through patients, but this is healthcare professionals to healthcare professionals that can be done. So I'll just go over those features as a way of introduction and to just guide you through this. And as I go through this, if you've got any queries, if you want me to slow down, repeat something, just put it in the chat or just unmute and say something. So if you've got a patient that's open, that automatically gets picked up by the AccuRx toolbar. So whenever you try to go into one of these options, it'll identify the patient that you've got live on your EMIS screen, and it pulls up their record. So it's quite easy and integrated in that way. And the way that it'll work is if I come up here and I click on message, this will open up this window here. What this does, it'll give me the patient's mobile number and a message text box here that I can just write a quick message that will then be sent to the patient. So this is the basic functionality that you've all probably seen and used. So just hello, here is a link to the let's just say back exercises that the GP recommended. So this is something like that that you might find that you're sending off to patients. So that's relatively straightforward to do. And what you can do is attach things in different ways. So you could either just send a straightforward text message. So it could just be as simple as, you know, your next appointment is on this day, or, you know, we've done this for you, or any other message without an attachment. And then you can have attachments that come from nhs.uk. So if you type in something here like back exercises, so you can get guidance about back pain exercises for the lower back. So I'm just going to do that. And then when I send this text to a patient, they will automatically get that link with that SMS, and then they can open that up. So that's a quick way of sending NHS advice. And one of the things that you can do is if you've got a test patient in the practice, open up the test patient, change this number to your mobile number, and then you can just see what happens when the text message comes across to the patient. So it's a good way to test this out by receiving the messages yourself, and I'd encourage you all to do that. The other way that you could do that, so that's the one way to link stuff. The other thing that you can do is attach things from the desktop or from the EMIS record. So if I click on attach, I've got the option to attach something that I might have saved to the desktop. So it's a document that the patient wants that I can just send to them via an SMS link, and they'll get a link to download it. Or I can attach something from EMIS itself. And this is really, really helpful, particularly if you're now doing things like sending out letters to patients or sending out a fit note. Rather than printing it out and asking people to collect it, you can just click on attach from EMIS Web, and then you just scroll down, find the document. So here's a fit note. I can just click on that, and then when I click on done, that will just attach that to the text message as well. So that'd be really helpful for patients to get any documents that we save in EMIS to be available for them. And this is in addition to things, for example, if we are looking at enabling patients to encourage them to do online access, for example, they can get access to the whole record, but here it's more focused to be individual documents if you want to send that to patients as well. And then if I send and save this, then the patient will get the links that I've embedded in there. The other thing to also note is that you've got this allow patient to respond once with text or photos. And this is also quite useful because what you can do here is check this box, and then patients can respond back. And for example, one message might be the GP would like you to send in a photo of your rash. Please reply to this message. So then they can click on that link that's sent, and then they can respond. And that's another way that patients can interact with the practice. And I'll show you where that ends up in a little while. So that's the kind of functionality that we can do with basic templates. I'll pause there for any questions or comments. If you've got any, then put them into the chat. There's nothing that I can see just yet, but feel free to put in any comments as we go through, just to clarify any issues that you might have. The other thing to bear in mind is something called Pathways. Pathways is a useful tool that we have, and what we can do here is that we can send patients a series of messages. So, for example, if you've got a patient who comes in and they've had a blood test, and the doctor says, I want you to have another blood test in 3 months' time. We can send a message to the patient to say, you need a blood test in 3 months' time. And then prior to the next appointment in 3 months, we can get them to receive another message. So you can basically plan how many messages you want. And that's what Pathways is used for. So there are several templates. So either I can use one of the templates. So the classic thing is blood test reminders. So here we go. The template says, I've made a change to one of your medications, have a blood test in 2 weeks' time. So that gets sent to the patient now. And then in a few days before 2 weeks, they get another message. As discussed, I wanted you to have a blood test around 2 weeks. Please make sure you've had your blood test. And then we can actually click on the calendar icon here and then define when they receive that message or keep it as the default. So again, a really good way of setting up patients to receive text messages in a planned way. So you can certainly use one of the ones that they've got, or you can just build one yourself. So you can send one now, and you can send one again whenever you want to in future. And then again, you can send as many future messages as you want. And again, that's really, really clever way of just planning care. And with all of these features, it's something that non-clinical staff can certainly use. This isn't something that's just for clinicians, and it's really supportive if everybody knows how to use it in the practice, but also you can just share the functionality and also help each other out if there's a need to do so as well. So there's quite a lot of functionality that's built in there. So that's Pathways. Florey's another thing that's relatively new, and this is where we get questionnaires sent out to patients. So, for example, we're now coming out of lockdown. We're getting patients coming in for long-term condition management, and we can send them information that they can then respond to. So we've been doing a lot of COVID stuff. So there's some questions that we can ask patients to fill in a questionnaire for that. And there's also an asthma questionnaire that we can send out to patients. I'm just going to show you an example of this. So I'm just going to send a asthma questionnaire to patients, to this patient. So I'm going to send that over to the patient. The patient gets this text message. I'm just going to open up this as an example. So this is what the patient will see on their mobile phone or whenever they open up the link. So they'll see this. Your GP would like to gather some information on asthma. Are you happy to proceed? Yes. They just have to confirm their details just so that they are verifying themselves. Put in their date of birth, and then they get the asthma question. So, do you have asthma? Yes, I've got asthma. How often do you get symptoms during the day? How often do you get symptoms at night? Does it limit your activities? How many times do you need to use your inhaler? Okay, how many exacerbations have you had? Okay, any other information? Okay, and smoking status, current smoker. Okay, smoking there. And that's it. So I submit that. So it's a way of gathering information, for example, before an asthma review, and that then gets sent back to the practice. So the practice then receives an information. So you can see already this information, the patient has filled it in. On my AccuRx, I've got a response, and this will appear at the top. So at the top, you can see that there's this icon with a red dot, and that tells me that there are 71 messages that have come into the practice, and one of them is from this patient. So here we go, patient has responded to you, and I can click on that to go through a whole list of patients. And then when I find this patient, I can save it to the record. And I'll just show you what happens when I save it to the record, because it does something that's really, really useful for us. Because not only does it save the response of the patient, but it also codes it. So if I go back into EMIS and show you, it's pulled in the details that the patient's responded to, but it's also coded it. And I can go into the care history to see that in detail. So that it basically covers all of the findings that we need for cough, for example. It covers what we need to be asking patients. So a really good tool. I don't think many practices know about it, so it'll be good to disseminate that to your practices as well. So within AccuRx, there's a Florey questionnaire for asthma. There's also the same thing for COPD. There's some other things as well, but they're the main two that are there at the moment, and there's some others that are being developed. Okay, so I'll just pause it to have a quick look. So there's no comments or questions yet, so I'll move on. Video is another really good thing. So you've probably seen people using the video, and the way they do that is within AccuRx. They either click on the video button here, or they will click on the video link up here to get the same screen that comes up. There's two ways that you can have a video consultation with a patient. You can either get them to do it to your smartphone, so it's patient smartphone to clinical smartphone, or they can use the GP can use the computer to send a link to the patient on their mobile. So the patient is using their mobile, but the clinician uses the PC to try and have that consultation. And it's really, really straightforward. Once you do that, you send it. It basically generates a link, and that link can be opened up by the patient, and then they will just have a straightforward a consultation. The other option is via smartphone. So you put in the patient's number comes up, and then you put in your mobile number, and then you can just have a consultation with the patient. And this is something that I would encourage practices to use and test. So you can basically put in two of your practice users' mobile numbers into a test patient, and then you can send that message to each other, and then you can see how that comes up, so you can experience what it's like for the patient. And again, that's really, really useful to know how it works. So that's video. I'm just going to go back to templates, and when I looked at templates initially, I showed you what was available for you to send from Approved NHS UK. There's also templates that you can have designed from within your practice. So here at St Andrews, there are many templates that have been put together, and you can easily design your own template. And the way that you would do that is if you click on your initials at the top and then go to Manage Practice, this will then pop up a window where you can then have a option to manage templates. And again, it's probably worth, so I'll just minimize that. That's from earlier. So if you go to manage templates, this will then open up this page, and then you can create a new template, or you can edit something else that's been done previously. Just to note, for those of you who are interested in coding, if you create a template, you can attach every template to a code, so that, for example, if you send somebody an SMS, you can code the fact that you sent it to them. So, for example, let's just pick one we haven't really looked at. So, immunization. So, if you are sending out text messages to patients to say the child needs an immunization, you'd create the template here with the text, and then you'd assign a code to it, so that when the SMS is sent to the patient, the record automatically gets updated with the code. So a good way of using the system to try and help manage how we communicate with patients overall. Okay, so that's the templates. I'm just going to stop sharing the screen because I'm just going to show you one more thing which I need to do off screen. So let me just click here. So, okay. Good. Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen again, and I'll show you something else. Okay, so one of the other things that you can do is go through somebody's record. So here we've got the inbox. So the inbox here allows me to see all of the messages that have come in. So there's messages that have come in from other patients. I'm not going to go into this because these are live patients, but also the test patient that I've got. So I can see all the messages that I've sent to my test patient historically, and also see any responses that they have sent me back as well. So it's a good way of having a look at a particular patient to think, actually, did I send that message through? Did it get delivered or not? And you can also follow up patient responses from here as well. So again, a really useful way of monitoring what patients are doing through AccuRx as well. One more thing, I'm just going to check on my side that it's safe for me to do. So I'll share something else as well. So the other functionality I'm going to show you is called Healthcare Messenger. So this is a new functionality that's now live, that we can send messages out. So this is really good, for example, if you are sending an email to another organization within the NHS. So a good example is if you've been told to email one of the hospital consultant secretaries, or even if you're emailing the single point of access, so you've done an MSK referral or a referral to the community district nurses, you can put their email address in here, and then it will pull in the patient's details, so pulls in the patient's NHS number, and then you can send a message. So I use this, for example, when I did a referral to the community health services, I went to attach from EMIS Web. I attached the referral that I'd made, just use the MSK clinic, for example, and just said, please see attached. And I then put their email address in here, and then I just sent that through. And when I sent that through, they will get that email, and it bypasses the need to use Outlook or sending it through another means. You just send it straight through AccuRx. So they get the message, and they can also reply back, and when they reply, it comes into AccuRx as well, and then we can save it direct to the record. So from a GP practice point of view, if you're using email, this is a way to get rid of that process. So you can save the steps of saving a document to the desktop, and then attaching that to an email in Outlook, and then sending it that way. Here you just do it straight through AccuRx. You select the document, type in the message, and away you go. It's quite straightforward to send, and then you would receive responses back as well into AccuRx. So really good ways of getting patients to respond back. Okay, so that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour through the functionality of AccuRx. I'm just going to pause there to see if there's any specific queries or questions from the group. So if you've got any questions, certainly unmute yourself or put something into the chat. Over to you guys. Any questions or any comments on any of those features that you felt may be useful?
Yes. When we send emails, we do it from Harvard Health Centre. Would it show Harvard on the email?
So will it show up Harvard Health Centre? So it'll basically, let me give you an example of, I will send a message. So I'm going to send a email to myself and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. So, okay. Give me a second, I'll just show you what it looks like. Okay. Let me just open. I've got to open up my email to show you. But it comes through to the person as AccuRx, but your practice details are in the top, in the header. So let me show you when this opens up. Okay. So here's an email that I've just sent to myself. So this is how it comes up. So the email is from AccuRx, email AccuRx. It'll have the patient's initials at the top with their NHS number. And then it will say message from your practice name regarding patient, date of birth, NHS number, sent securely through NHS.net. So that's how it will come through. And if I reply, testing response, and I send that back through, I can show you then what it comes back as. So let me share this screen with EMIS. Okay, so oops, let me just I need to send that email through first. Let me just send that email. Okay, now let me share the screen. Okay, so I've sent that email through, and that will come through. So it will come through back. So the way it's shown is just like that. That's the email that gets sent out with a header to say it's from the practice. So the actual name is AccuRx email that it goes through.
Thanks.
And then here we've got a response back. Here we go. So that's, I can have here and see testing response. So that's the email that I got back. And then I can reply, or I can just save it to the record. So if I save it to the record, and you can see, you can just get notification that comes up. So again, you can configure who will see this in your practice. And then I can just mark that as done and it comes out of my inbox. And then if I have a look at the record, it just pulls that email in. So there's no copying and pasting that I need to do from Outlook. It will just come straight in.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all right. Any other comments or questions or queries about AccuRx? Or what features do you find are useful that you'll be using, or anything you've learned specifically? Do you want to not be shy and come off mute and have a look?
Sorry, just wanted to ask. Oh, that's a bit. Right, sorry. I
All
think
right.
it's because I'm close to the computer. I was saying, if you send an email, then you get the reply sorry, probably best if I text you because
Or
it's
if you
causing a lot of
just
noise.
put down the volume on your computer,
All right, 1 second.
because it's you're getting feedback.
All right.
Yep, that's better.
So my question was, if we send an email to the patient in
So
terms
you're
of...
not so you can't send it to the patient. So this is Healthcare Messenger. It's from
Oh, sorry, I
health.
didn't mean the patient. Yeah, whatever healthcare organization. But
Yep.
if we send it, and obviously they allow replying to who sent it, though it comes back as AccuRx reply, still the reply will come back to that person who sent it only. I mean, to that person AccuRx login. Is that correct?
Yep. So it'll basically come back into the AccuRx toolbar, but then as a practice, you can set it up as a practice inbox. The default is, I'll show you what it looks like. The default is this. So it says practice inbox here.
Yeah.
So everybody can see it.
Perfect. So it's a global view. So, practice inbox, perfect. Because I was wondering, like, obviously, if that person is not in and they reply at later stage, obviously that won't be received by the practice. Absolutely. All right. Thank you. Very useful.
And I think that's one of the other things with the actual inbox where patients respond as well. You can set up teams. So again, let me just show you.
Even for the photo attachment, like when the clinician sends it, but
yes.
That's probably more appropriate for a clinician to receive it. But if it's the admin team, for example, requesting for photos to be sent, it's probably good to have that practice inbox. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can just show you again on the view. So I'm not going to open it up, but effectively, if I go into my inbox here, I can see my team. So my teams might be, I'm part of the asthma response team, or I'm part of the general team, or I can see all responses. So effectively, you can have people to go through their own stuff. So you can say your role is only to respond to your own stuff, or you're basically in this team, so you respond to this, or you're in the global team, just respond to all messages. So you can configure your own practice to do whatever would work best, really. So you really want to try and have this so that patients don't fall in between the gaps and the message just comes and nobody answers it. So it's a global view for everyone, but you can have it so that certain people will only look at certain things.
All right. Thank you. Thanks.
And that's one of the useful things around having a global toolbar, because actually, if people are away, then you're not missing any important messages that come through. Because with email, you've often got a shared mailbox that you're accessing. So we are effectively looking at how do we, the same way that we're using Teams more. So this isn't really a Teams webinar, but there are lots of functionality within Teams, not just having these conversations and meetings, but there's ways that you can organize documents and conversations and collaboration on Teams. But the same kind of principle with this, we're looking to collaborate with patient communications. So any other queries, comments, questions, how you're going to be using it within your practices? Just unmute yourself and comment. Or you're all totally happy with how we've explained it? Feel free. This is an interactive session, so otherwise, if we've covered everything, we've covered everything. So I left this bit for a interactive bit for you guys to comment. Getting some comments coming through. Okay. So happy with that. Yep.
With patients sending in their photos, is it easy for them to upload their own photos and send, like for dermatology?
Yes, so for patients, so if you send a SMS out to a patient, the patients will just get a SMS link to say upload your photos, and they just click, and then they will be able to just select the photos from their phone and then send them in. So it is a straightforward process. What I would recommend is if you test it through, so if you, for example, go through a dummy patient and test it through. That's the best way to actually learn how to use it. So I can give you an example here. So let's go into this test patient. I'm going to say, let's see, request. Oops. So we've got templates for photo request. They can basically email it into us, or they can respond back to the text. So I'm going to send a ability for the patient to respond. I'm going to send this through. So this is a link that's now going to appear on my phone, and this is what they get, and they will get a link to respond. So the patient will click on this link. This is their phone. They will get this text message. Your practice asks you a question. Use this form to submit a response or add a photo. So I'll say yes. Again, confirm my details as the patient. And then this is the template. So this is the template I sent to the patient. And here are the photos. And then I would attach a photo here. So if I click attach, then I can just choose a photo either from my phone, or if I'm on a computer, I can attach it from the desktop. And then I just submit that. And then that's it. When I hit submit, again, that goes back to the practice. And then if I go into the patient's response here, I can see the patient's response, and I can then save it to the record. And if I save it to the record, that just automatically comes straight into EMIS. And then if I reload here, here we go. So the response, here are the photos. And then if there's attachments, it will be attached here. So it's relatively straightforward for patients to do that, to send photos in. And again, it's trying to make things as easy as we can for the patient. And sometimes it's quite challenging for patients to do it if they've got a if they're on another device, or if they don't have a direct link back, or if they're not sure what the email address is. If they can just click a link and attach the photos, it makes it a lot easier. Got another query question that's come up. Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Well, so thanks, Tracy. So sometimes when you swap a patient to send a message to a different patient, it doesn't change in AccuRx. It should do. Often what happens is that if you change patient and the AccuRx doesn't pick up the right patient, it's usually one of two things. One, it might be that you've got two different versions of EMIS open. So if you inadvertently have got EMIS open twice, then it won't pick up which screen is the right patient. Or if your EMIS crashed and then you had to reload it, then it sometimes gets confused. And if that's the case, it's best to close down both EMIS and the toolbar and to restart them again, and that will resync it really. There is another tool that you can use, which is outside of EMIS, and that's called Fleming. I'll quickly just show you that. So Fleming is another tool that you can use. So if you go to fleming.accurx.com, and if you log in through your NHS mail, you can actually, let me just minimize this. Let's just get rid of that. Okay. So you've got the option to message the patient or to send a video consultation through this method as well, through the web. But if you're going to do this, what you need to do is confirm the patient's NHS number. So this is for when people are working outside of practice. It's a good way of trying to communicate with patients. So another query, is that okay, Tracy? Feel free to comment if you feel you want to expand on that. Another question on, so Mahmood, if you've sent an SPA referral via AccuRx, how would they know which practice is it from? Will it show in their end? And that's essentially how I showed here. So let me just bring that up again here. Let's share the screen here. So this is the email that they will see. So they'll see that the message is from that particular practice. And if you've got an attachment, for example, the referral form, that will be attached, and that also has a lot of the details in as well. So they're the two identifiers for the service. So it has it in the message, and presumably in your attachment that will also be visible. Okay, hope that's answered your question, Mahmood. Feel free to unmute and respond back if you need to. So any other comments or queries? Feel free to use the chat or come off mute to ask. We've got another 20 minutes or so we can either bring this session to a close, or if you've got any other queries or questions about anything IT, really, happy to pick that up now to go through. Okay, so yeah, so go on.
What's the best way to contact somebody if you have a query or question?
If you have a query with
in the future, if we're trying out one of these, and
yep. So what I often do, and you probably saw it here, is if you log into AccuRx's website, so AccuRx.com, you will get a little chat thing here in the bottom corner, and I use this quite a lot. If I've got specific queries about AccuRx, things aren't working, or I think there's a problem, or even suggestions, I normally just chat to them directly. And they've got people who man these chats 24/7, not 20, well 24/7, meaning there's a automatic reply, but during office hours there's somebody who will reply to you. So you know, if you've got a query, you can always raise it with the AccuRx team directly.
Thanks.
Fleming. So Fleming, I'll just go over Fleming again. So question about Fleming. So on the screen, I will share the Fleming screen. Let's share screen. So this is the Fleming page. So when I log in to what I'll do, let me just show you from the beginning. If I open up another window, let me just start from scratch. Let's do it without my login so you can see exactly what happens. So if you are using if you wanted to use this outside, so for example, if you're working in out of hours, or you're not in front of an email screen, or in fact, you know, the toolbar is not working, then if you go to fleming.accurx.com, you will then get this screen, which allows you to log in via NHS Mail. So if I click on the NHSnet link, I then put in my NHSnet email address, sign in. It'll ask me for a verification to my phone, which I shall get now, and put that in now here, which is 954. Okay, and then this will bring up the AccuRx window, which I can then send a message or do a video consultation from Fleming. So this is an option to communicate with patients this way. And if I use this, then I've got to verify the patient with an NHS number and date of birth, and then search for the patient, confirm that's the patient I want to contact, and communicate that way. So that's a way of doing it outside of the toolbar. But as I said, this is something that we're looking at other people to use more, so out of hours, for example, or even pharmacies, care homes can communicate with practices through this method. So that's Fleming. Okay. Okay. So it would be helpful to have some kind of field to practice while you're showing it. Okay, so Nasreen, do you want to expand on that? But I'm taking that to mean around how do you practice with AccuRx, and the way that I would say that you should practice with AccuRx is to load up a dummy patient. So just as I've done with a dummy patient here. So I've opened up a dummy patient. Then if you go to the text message, put in your own mobile number, and then you can use the system and see what it feels like from the patient's end, and experiment it that way. And you can do that with the text messages. You can do that with the video, and of course with the email you can send messages to yourself from a dummy patient. So I'd really encourage you to do that, because I think it's a really good way of getting us in primary care, clinical and non-clinical staff, to actually see and experience what it's like for patients. And it's not just AccuRx, anything. So even things like the NHS app, I'm advising basically everyone who works in the NHS to use the NHS app, because if you know how to use it, then your patients know how to use it. They know how to do online consultations through the NHS app, for example, and they'll be able to, you'll be able to explain it much more easily if you actually have seen it and used it yourself, really. So that I'd really encourage everyone to do that as well. So that's with a dummy patient. So if you're not sure how to access a dummy patient, just ask your practice manager, for example. They will be able to just let you know which dummy patient you can use to test this out with. So how do we practice? So Nasrin, do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Hi there.
Hi.
Hi. I mean, you know, the screen that you're actually showing us from with the various examples and stuff, how do they have access to that particular screen to practice from outside of the practice space?
So you just go to the website, just go to your browser and just put in fleming.accurx.com.
Or just we can access it through the Fleming thing?
Yeah. Yeah,
oh, okay,
exactly.
okay, I see.
So,
okay.
if I sorry, didn't explain that. So here, what you do is that's the web address. So you just put in fleming.accurx.com. That will get you in to this page.
And one more question. Is there any way of communicating with the community pharmacies in the community through this?
Absolutely.
Is it the same way as NHS Mail?
Yep, absolutely. So all pharmacies are set up with an NHS Mail account. You just need to know what address that is. What we're looking to do separately is we're piloting getting pharmacies to communicate with GPs, as well as in gym
exactly,
practice
that
to
is
send
the
messages
reason.
to them.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Okay, you're piloting that. That
Yeah.
was my question.
Yeah, absolutely. But there's
have
nothing.
A direct form of communication.
Yeah, but there's nothing stopping you from sending a message now. So you could, if you've got the NHS Net email address of your local pharmacy, you could send them a message about a patient now.
I have the email address of the local. I've got my own email address, not the pharmacies.
Okay.
I didn't understand what you meant by email address of the pharmacy.
So if you ask your pharmacy for their NHS Net email address.
Okay, the actual registered pharmacies. Okay.
Yeah. They will have an NHS Net email address, and then you can send them a message. Same thing with care homes. Care homes are being set up with NHS Mail email addresses, and you can send them messages as well about patients securely. So there's some governance that's being worked through with care homes, but pharmacies already are set up with NHS Mail email addresses. So you can use that now with them, and they can also respond.
Okay. Apologies for this question,
No,
because I'm out of practice for a while now, so
no worries.
I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, thank you.
No problem. There's no such thing as a question that's a silly question or a too easy question, because we're all learning, and I'm constantly learning, mainly from you guys, how to communicate with patients. So
thank you.
Any other comments or questions from anyone else? So feel free to put it on the chat or just unmute yourself. Good opportunity to ask directly. Or anything you want me to go over again?
I think you've gone over everything. It's just a matter of practicing now for us.
I think that
get the ball rolling.
I think that's a fabulous comment, really, and one that we can easily end on, which is basically you've got the toolbar there, you've got the tools there. Practice, learn how to use it with dummy patients, and spread the word with other staff and even your clinicians. A lot of clinicians do not know about the full functionality of it, and happy to be contacted and to pick up anything later on as well. So if there's nothing else, I'll be here for a bit longer, for a few more minutes, but feel free. Yep.
Is it possible to have your contact details to raise questions regarding this, or email address? Or what's the best way to?
I'll put my email address into the chat, so you've got it. They contact me directly, or you can do it through the CPIN, whatever's easier for you.
Okay, all right, that's great. Thank you. That helps a lot.
That's fine. So we'll end it there. I'm here if anybody wants to have a further conversation, but I'll end the webinar. We'll stop recording, and have a great day and the rest of the week.
Yeah, you too. Thank you very much for the webinar.
Bye bye.
Thank you.